I'm getting myself situated, and yes, let us get to the nitty gritty of another top five series as we're starting to wind down the entire list here. As you can tell, back here, and I got myself situated in this one, and it's those boys in Vancouver. Vancouver, the Great White North, whatever they're called. It's Canuck Day, and this is actually my second favorite team next to the Penguins. I've got a classmate who's a hardcore Canucks fan as well, but watches everything that's gone down, including the conversion rebrand from that one all the way to that one and other variations all over the place. But this one's going to be fun. But this was really, really, I don't want to say it was difficult, but I had a little bit of a conundrum trying to pick my top five. But until then, I will get to that. But there's this thing right here called a subscribe button. Hit that if you want to be alerted for all the new stuff that comes out, especially when we start figuring out what to do with our next series. Still trying to figure that out, but we'll definitely let you know by then. But if you want to go back to finding out all the old teams that we started from Anaheim all the way to right now, this very second, we're doing Vancouver, and we only got a handful left, so it's going to be fun. So, while we're at it, while we jump into this, everybody knows what I do during this entire time. I find my homework and I go through the NHL uniform database. This gives you all the templates and all the other time frames, the years, the templates that they have done, a little bit of information on the right side, and all the stuff that you need to know, all the reverse retros, all the whatever stuff that they did, templates, design works, rebrands, and a lot of people are very familiar with the Vancouver Canucks. Been in the league since 1970-71. Was a WHA. I think there was a WHA team back in the day as well. Got the name from the man named Johnny Canuck. And they've got a handful of people in the Hall of Fame, handful of people retired: Pavel Bure, Trevor Linden, Marcus Naslund, and the most famous Sedin twins. And I remember that Stanley Cup in 2011 where the Sedin twins finally made it to a cup. They lost it. And people in Vancouver are still very bitter about 2011 where they had Game 7 at home against the Boston Bruins, and they get shut out 4-0 by Tim Thomas. And there was riots, unfortunately. Vancouver, that was one of the last chances. I mean, there was a couple chances after that, like Montreal, and I think that might have been the only one that Vancouver had an opportunity to win the Stanley Cup and bring the cup back to Canada. But in the meantime, you see all these different types of stuff that we did. But we remember they started out in tradition with the rink with the C, the rink C with the stick in it. Now, it wasn't angled like this. It was more of a straight. It looked like a really generic look, but that was the look back then. And then everybody remembers the skate. That is pretty much, I mean, most Canuck fans and Canadian fans will remember the rink C, but they're going to know the skate. When they changed over from the blue colors to the black, red, and yellow, the black, red, and yellow, it was a whole different rebrand, whole different atmosphere. And then we remember what they're using now. It's basically the Orca coming out of the sea. They've used this for quite a handful of years now. Now, before I burn through this, let's just jump back. When did they start doing the Orca? It was actually 1997. It was actually this model, if I can bring it up. They started using the Orca in '97 with the late '90s 2000s color palette with the dark navy blue. That's like the obsidian blue, a regular blue with the red, and it almost kind of looks like Kraken colors without the bright, kind of a little bit of the brightness. But this was the Canucks palette through. Let's just go back together while we're at it. From '97 all the way to 2006, and then brought this logo in a little bit of a reverse thing. This was like white, and that was their third jersey. And then a lot of people started to like the blue, and then they went full-fledged to the new Vancouver palette with the Vancouver text and the Orca with their traditional blue with the forest green. That was what they had when they started, and there has been not really any knowledge as of this second that I do this video that they're going to rebrand of anything. The biggest change they ever did was get rid of the word text and highlight the Orca, and it's kind of worked. So Vancouver has a decent team right now, just trying to get over a hump because the Western Conference is absolutely filthy. It is loaded. So we remember the skate, and we remember what they are now with the Orca. Um, no one is never going to forget the absolute flying V. And I did not find a picture. Actually, I did, but I was just like, let's just go with this one. It was this and the one in yellow. And to many people and sports critics and jersey critics all over media and social media and jersey collectors, there is no argument. That is one of the ugliest jerseys on the face of God's green earth. And they use that in a handful of years. When did they actually use that entire thing? From 78 to 1985. Then it did a couple little different designs like this one. And this one was a different third jersey. I still think, I mean, if I could find this one, they had the logo on the shoulder, which was different, but went into a couple different varieties. This one wasn't half bad. This one was a 90. This one was a 95-96 alternate. But they actually did not have some bad alternate jerseys. They really didn't. I can't say Vancouver has a bad jersey. I really can't. But the V, that was hideous. Yeah, I mean, hideous. And when I mean hideous, I mean like there's people say hideous like it's, oh, I would cop that in a heartbeat. This one almost like a roller hockey jersey, but it only was out I think 1 year. We remember when they went to the blue red. They also had a third jersey of this with this gradient, and this was actually a sick jersey. And they also still had goals for kids. I think Winnipeg did that for a little while. It still does that. The gradient was a really, really, really different essence for their palette, for their jersey palette. And this was, in fact, the inspiration for the first reverse I think it was the first reverse retro. This was actually not bad. I couldn't find this anywhere. And I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to actually double check my work here. Was that the first reverse retro? Yeah, it was. Okay. So it was the first reverse retro. Hard to find. Second one is just as hard to find. And I think I put these somewhere in the middle of the pack of my tier list. I'll pin that up here, when I get an opportunity. But it's hard to find this jersey. I would find this in a heartbeat. And like I said, they also had different versions of the of the rink C with the stick in the middle of it. Many different alterations. This is actually the one they're using currently, I believe. I definitely have to look, because everybody knows what their palette is right now. I mean, this is actually, I'm going to have to do a tier list of sometime down the road of like everybody's entire jersey set, because it changes every year. And now with Fanatics, you still could, I mean, people were like, well, we're never going to get a third jersey because Fanatics took over. When Reebok took over, everybody just had two jerseys. Then everybody started to figure out, hey, we want to do this, and that. And you get a 3-year deal with an alternate jersey. And then everybody just went gaga when they brought the skate back. That was just a phenomenal decision by Vancouver when they did that. I'm going to go to my top 5, and it goes like this. I'm actually going to start with the Heritage Classic that they wore, and unfortunately, they lost that game, I remember, and I still remember this game. They played Ottawa at BC Place. They lost that game, but they got 55,000 in BC Place. People think that's not a big area. That's a soccer stadium. Vancouver, the Whitecaps play there. But the Millionaires jersey is similar to the Seattle Metropolitan days, text in the letter, and it was the big old school striping on the arms. This is an old school sweater. I mean, old school sweater as it is. And if I could find this, I would probably cop this. I really, really would. This was a smart decision. They did wear this a couple more times later in that season. There's no plans for them to bring any Millionaire stuff back. There's a lot of people to do jersey concepts and try to put this with today's colors. I think keeping this the way it was the right COA. I'll put this at 5. Number 4, I will actually go that darker jersey. It's hard to say if this was a black jersey or if this was a really, really dark obsidian blue. They were promoting the All-Star game that year, and I think that was, it's hard to look right in there, and it's either 96 or 98. I can't remember. If you can figure that up, put a comment in. I mean, I could zoom that in. 98. There you go. Well, save yourself some tax. I have the white version of this jersey. Got it, and it was and it was nice. Black one, boy, that's hard to find as well. But it stood out just because, well, again, everyone wants to try to make a black jersey. Go figure. But this set the tone, and it was done sharp. I will put this at 4. Number 3, I'm going to put the second reverse retro with Johnny Canuck on it. This was just different. This was just, I don't want to say outside the box, but when you add Johnny Canuck on the jersey and Abbotsford Canucks, who won the AHL Calder Cup this year, they use that logo they use the Johnny Canuck as their logo for their jerseys. But it's so different with the logo and the C or the A on the chest. Vancouver's never really did that. They never really did anything like that. This is a hard jersey to find because if you want it with a name and number on it, you don't know if it's fake or not because the numbers, everybody eyeballs the numbers, the size of the numbers, the size of the font. Even if you find this plain, golf clap. This one, I actually really like this. I don't care. The striping, big stripes on the shoulders, big stripe, looks like Hartford Whaler stripes, big thick stripes on the bottom. This is at 3. Number 2, I'm just going to go back to the original, not to the original, but the Vancouver text. This is what they went to the cup with, and the text stood out hardcore. You don't see that very often. Nope, there's a lot of jersey guys that don't like text on their jerseys, but this symbolized, and this actually not necessarily brought out Vancouver's identity, but the New Jersey, the color palette, and the old rink logo on the shoulders. Um, the big text stood out, and I had a Roberto Luongo jersey with this, solid, and I sold that. But this will always be one of my best ones. Number 1 is actually no real. I can't say no. I'm going to actually go the skate. And if people recognize they did this for an anniversary, I will shove it right there. I have that right there. Major difference from this, from the old one, is the white inside, is the white coloring inside. Well, don't even look at it. It's hard to find on that. But they had the white in the inside of the word Canucks. I've lost my words already. But this was one of the most. I mean, there's Vancouver fans that want this back. They want this color palette back so bad, because they think the Orca has run its course. But boy, this was a tough one to do. But I always will like this jersey. But it's a tough call from going from that to what they have now. It's such a it's such a tough task because the blue green is their history. The black, red, and yellow is what they actually went to a cup with, and they went to a cup against the Rangers. That was the 1994 Cup where they lost. The team actually lost 3 Stanley Cups. They lost to the Islanders, they lost to the Bruins, and they lost to the Rangers in '94. We're just waiting to see them get that right group of people and make a run to try to see, can they be like Edmonton, get to the cup? Can they be like Calgary and finally get over a big hump? Toronto can't get there. Montreal's getting better. Ottawa's getting better. We're waiting for Quebec to come back in the league, but who knows if Gary Bettman will ever let that happen. But Vancouver has a great history in their jerseys. The V will always be hideous to everybody, but people will still buy that as that big collector. But I will cherish what I have. I'm lucky I found this hat. This was a new era. I think this was a new era hat. I think yes, it was actually. And until then, I'm going to shut the bar down because you got a chance to see what Vancouver was. There's a lot to pick from. What was your favorite? Which one did you remember the most? And I will see Bloody Legends in the next one. The next one I do is going to be those Mercs in Vegas. So we get to do the Golden Knights next. So as I said, bar is closed. I've done enough, and I could say that right there. But I've been around both. It's the Vancouver Canucks. I remember them. Excuse me, pretty well, and I'm happy you guys got a chance to hang out. I'll see you guys in the next one.